Alright, to start off, I was born in a small town, North Georgia. I was born into a cookie-cutter family, mom and dad still together, 2 siblings, brother and sister. I'm the youngest. It was a very traditional upbringing. I was really close with all of my family, including my grandparents, and you'll see a picture of my grandmother and my granddad in the video. I was just a normal kid growing up in the South, I guess. Nothing really different about my upbringing. I had a great time in high school. Awesome 4 years. I was in honors classes from freshman year to senior year, and I had pretty much classes with the same people all day, every day, which kind of sounds redundant, but I loved everyone I had classes with. It was a small school, so I knew everyone really well. I had great friends in high school. I was involved in everything, trying to pad my resume to get into UGA. I was in the band. I was actually the drum major, which is the leader of the band, also known as the leader of the nerds. But at my high school, it wasn't that nerdy. I was on homecoming court. I was on sweetheart court. I did everything I wanted. I had fun. I partied with my friends on the weekends. It was just a great time. I can't really describe it in any other way except to use that word over and over again. I would go back any day. It was awesome. Alright, now to get into the stuff that this is actually supposed to be about. Something that I dealt with in high school that I think is relevant to this project was our special ed program in high school was very, very inclusive. They liked to mingle the kids in that class with regular ed as much as possible. Some of the kids couldn't really mingle as much as others, but we had lunch together all the time. Some of them were in some classes. I never really had any in my classes because I was in all honors, but they did mingle them into general ed quite a lot. And one kid in particular, his name was Colby Miller, he had cystic fibrosis, and he was all there mentally. He just couldn't walk and couldn't move his arms and legs around as good as he would like to. He was a big part of our high school. He loved football. Football was huge at our school. He was the manager of our football team. He went to every practice, he went to every game. He was also in the band. He was at every band practice, and he was just an awesome kid. He wanted to do everything and anything that he could do. And he actually passed away here recently, not while I was in high school, but a couple years ago. And just seeing the outpouring of love that my town gave him, I think has instilled in me a huge want to include students who other teachers might not want to include in their classroom, because the impact that my high school had on this child and the impact that he had on all of us was just something that you can't buy, and you just have to include them because it's worth it. The extra effort, it's worth it. Something else I dealt with a lot in high school that I think would be relevant in my future classrooms were my best friends. My best friends were Morgan and Madison, and both of them had struggles that they had to deal with every day that I was right there with them, helping them deal with. My friend Madison, she was a very, very avid Christian. I mean, she was in church every Sunday and Wednesday. She knew the Bible by heart. She was 100% Christian, and she never faltered from that. She was saving herself for marriage. She didn't drink on the weekends. She didn't do anything wrong. And she had to face a lot of ridicule for that, even from my small town. And I was right there with her to help her through it. I mean, I don't know how big of a help I actually was to her, but I'd like to think that I was a big help. I mean, I would stand up for her whenever she would be ridiculed, and I think that's something I'm going to have to deal with a lot of religions in my future classrooms, not just Christianity. And I think it's important that I learn about the other various religions, because thankfully I knew a lot about Christianity, so I could defend her to people who were bullying. And it's important that I am educated in the others, so that when I have students who are part of that other religion, I can help them out in the best way that I can. My other best friend, Morgan, she dealt a lot with weight issues. She was bigger than, me my whole life. I'm tiny. And as we got older, her weight became more of a problem for her. I don't know so much that she was made fun of for it, but she saw people reacting to her in different ways, and it really affected her. I mean, I don't know of her ever being called fat or being called a mean nickname for being overweight, but just the fact that she felt different and felt bad about feeling different was always a big struggle for her. And I never really knew how to help her with it, because it's a hard topic to help. We talked a little bit about it in class, how, what do? You say something to them and they get offended, but then if you don't, are you really helping them out in any way? It was a struggle, and I think I'm going to need to really learn how to deal with that for my future classrooms, because it's a huge problem, and I'm definitely going to face it. That's one thing I'm definitely going to face. Well, that's me in a nutshell in high school. And then I received probably the best email I've ever gotten in my life. In college, it doesn't take very long to learn a lot about yourself and about everyone around you, because you live in very close quarters. When I got here, I was very sheltered, I discovered. Although I thought I'd lived a normal life, I found out that I really hadn't come encountered with a lot of stuff. My next door neighbor in my dorm, Amy, who later became my best friend that year, she really introduced me to a lot of new things. I had never come encountered with, anyone who questioned their sexuality, or at least that I knew of. I had never come in contact with anyone of that nature. I knew about it, obviously. I wasn't ignorant, but, it was a completely foreign idea to me. And my friend Amy opened my eyes to it. She herself did not question her sexuality, but a lot of her friends from home considered themselves bisexual or lesbian or gay. And I went home with her during the first semester of my freshman year, and I met all of them, and it was very important for me to see that they really are just people. Not that I had ever thought anything differently, but it was a very important learning experience to see that had I not known they questioned their sexuality, I might not have known at all. They were seriously just cool people, just like Amy, and I loved getting to know them, and it was an eye-opening experience because I'm definitely going to face that in my classrooms, and I need to look at it in that light, that they're just people, the same as me. I have differences, they have differences, and it was a good thing to see, and I needed it at that time in my life. When I decided that teaching was what I wanted to do with my life, I went out in the community here in Clark County trying to figure out ways to, build a resume and see if this is really what I wanted to do. And I started doing a lot of work with kids. I became a mentor with the Clark County Mentor Program. I did that last year, and I started doing childcare at a church here in town, Beach Haven Baptist. And I also substitute at a school, the Lifespan Montessori School here in Athens. All of those things have taught me a lot, but one of the biggest things they've taught me is the difference in class in children, because Ezekiel, the 6th grader that I mentored last year, came from a very different class than the kids I took care of at the church and at the Montessori school. A Montessori school is a very expensive, different way of learning, so the kind of kids that I take care of there come from upper middle to upper class families, and at the church I take care of kids from typically middle class families that are religious. And Ezekiel came from a very poor background. There was a lot of stuff that he didn't know that I feel as a 6th grader he should have, and I think a lot of that comes from his difference in class. His mom works nights, and he has to live with his grandmother, who is very old during that time, and he doesn't have a lot of stimulation when his mom's at work because his dad lives out of town. And I tried my best to stimulate his love for reading, because he was not doing as well in reading as he would have liked to, and it was very sad to me to see the difference, because his mother was doing the best she could. She was having to work the hours that she was given, and it made for a tough upbringing for Ezekiel because he didn't have someone there pushing him constantly, getting him to do his homework and getting him to read, and that's why I think he needed me as a mentor. A difference in class is something I'm definitely going to come in contact with as a teacher, because it's everywhere, it's not just here, and it's a big difference. My mom taught at a county school where I'm from, and the difference in the county school and the city school that I went to was huge. I would go to her school, in high school, and try to help them learn how to write, and what they couldn't understand was things that I thought came easily to students, and it doesn't to students who don't get the proper teaching at home when they're young. And a difference in class sometimes makes that impossible in these homes where parents have to work all the time to just support themselves. It was an eye-opening thing, and I think I'm going to take all those experiences into my classroom, and I think they'll make me a better teacher. Last but not least, because I know I'm already over the 15-minute limit, I came into contact with a friend, Molly, who's my best friend now here at UGA, and she's from Maryland, and I went out there with her this summer. We went to DC and Maryland, and we also went to New York, and just being from a different region, I realized there's a lot of differences in between, like what I grew up learning, what she grew up learning, and I think I'll come in, I keep saying this, but come into contact with that in my future classroom. And also, from a different region, I started dating Sean, my boyfriend, who's from South Florida, who was raised by parents from Long Island. So he was raised a completely different way than I was as well, and neither way is better or worse, but I think it's important to understand that not everyone comes from the same place, because where they're from makes them who they are now. So it's important to understand that and not expect the same from every student, because every student is different. Enjoyed the video. I'm very sorry that I went over the limit. I guess I just didn't realize how much I had to say. Thank you for watching.